Oh my God, you guys, are you ready for this one? Welcome to the Powerful Inc. Startup Stories podcast. I was debating saying the very last episode of season 1, which it will be. And I'm like already goosebumpy to have Melodie Dewsbury, Coach Melodie D, here with us today. We've been corresponding by email for several months now, coming around to perfect timing for a perfect conversation, for a perfect ending to season 1. And I'm speechless, which if you've been listening doesn't happen. So I'm grounding in. I've got my hand on my heart and my other hand on my womb. I'm so thrilled to have Melodie here with us today. Melodie has we all have unique stories, but what I'm loving about hers and the journey we're going to go on with you is that she sort of did the book of life and went to school and got a job and became a teacher. And you know that a teacher has a heart so full of service and love and light to impart into the world. And then she listened deeper to her intuition and left that job to start her own online business. But after a few years of working for herself as a what could I say, like as a full-time entrepreneur, she realized that she did want a job and has gone back into the workforce. So she's back at work while still growing her business. And we're going to move away from the language of calling it a side hustle, because you can be an entrepreneur in so many different forms. And that's going to be a large part of normalizing where you are in your journey, because you guys know I'm still working full-time too while growing my business. And it's an important conversation to have, to relax and release into just being where you are and being okay with that. And then we'll just see what else comes out. I'm already covered in goosebumps. I really want to get Melodie talking. So welcome to the show. And what would you like to introduce yourself with?
Thank you for that awesome introduction. Yeah, it's funny how we have been talking for several months, and normally that's not quite my MO when it comes to building my business and doing stuff. Like when I say I'm going to be somewhere, I am there. But this year has been so different for me and has been like a lesson in patience and understanding how to show up in work and life and business all at once. And so I just want to say thanks for being flexible, because I think if I were you and I was asking someone who kept pushing me off, and I'd probably be like, you know what, never mind, let's just skip it. But your patience and understanding with the life stuff that was going on was just really I just felt like I connected with you. So I'm really glad we're here today. So thank you for that.
We connected. It's this beautiful thing when you can meet a stranger online, but you can feel this energy between you. Mm-hmm. And, with Melodie, I used to be so tight. I'm still so tight. And I'm just having to practice at greater discomfort levels of letting that fucking go. And what it does then is what you just described can hold space in different ways. And I used to live, and still do, I mean, it's always evolving, but in this scarcity reactive mode. And so it was like, oh no, she can't, it's not going to happen. And my whole future is gone. It's wiped out because this interview is not going to happen. And I really want you guys to hear that while I'm working full time, raising children, having a life, and growing my business, not my side hustle, I'm finding ways to open and relax and expand. And it's not by going on deep shamanic retreats, although I can't wait to have space in my life to do those, but it's by finding ways of applying that grace anywhere, anytime. And so this was just an example of that.
That's so true. And I love what you said about, it's not a side hustle.
Not a side hustle.
Not a side hustle. And actually what I want, we were talking just before we started, about that, the difference between like the side hustle and kind of the dangerous language around that. But when I was a teacher, because I was a teacher for almost a decade, you know, got my master's, was on the way to principalship. I was totally interested in that and everything.
Big
Like that was
commitment.
that was my path, right?
Yeah.
I was hustling.
Yeah.
I was hustling in my business because, you know, like teaching incomes don't make ends meet. And I was newly divorced and now on a single teaching income instead of two. And so, yeah, I was hustling like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
My language.
Yeah, no, swearing's great.
Yeah, well, it is great. Yeah. And it's so different this time. So I quit teaching and then I started my business, ended up in the coaching realm, which makes perfect sense because hello, like teaching is my gift. That's my sole purpose. I'm just doing it a different way now. But it's a different energy. When I was teaching, I'd be up at 5:30 and I'd be doing my morning routine, my check-ins with clients, or whoever whatever we're doing, because I had a couple different businesses at the time.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, case in point, had more than one business while teaching full time.
Yes, an extensive history, right? Which I tracked down some of, like Melodie, I did. And I'm gonna use it when I market this episode because I want you guys to really walk in the steps that have been walked because you're walking in them. So yes, Melodie, you had multiple businesses, you dabbled in MLM, you were doing a bunch of different things. Teaching in of itself eats up more than the 9 to 3 hours of school. So
like 9 to 9. Yeah.
So keep going with that. So you wake up in the grind.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I was grinding. I would then work, you know, from 7:30 to 10:15 teach, 10:15 to 10:30 check my emails, 10:30 teach, lunchtime wouldn't sit like the last year of teaching. I wouldn't sit with the other teachers. First of all, that can be a really negative space, right? So I would go and sit in the library and I would either read personal development, I would work on ads or whatever I was working on at the time, and I would check in with clients and potential, you know, customers and setting things up, and then I'd go home. You know, I'm like 8 years in at this point, right? So I didn't really need to spend hours and hours after school, kind of have things down. I would go home at 3:34 and then either work as a teacher while working for my side hustle or working until 10 p.m. and then doing it all over again. Like that was my life for a year. And that's what I needed to get to the point where I could say, okay, I'm done. I need to just do this full time now. And it's so different this time around because number one, I don't have the energy I had 4 years ago to do that.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, I experienced burnout and I don't want to do that again.
Yeah.
And it's totally different this time. I'm not single this time around either, right? Like I was newly divorced and I had this like motivation. I'm going to prove to the world that I got this, right? And you know, my motivation right now is a little bit different. I want to enjoy my time with my boyfriend and family, and you know, with my stepdad passing away earlier this year, like last year was, well, it's his last this and it's his last that, and you know, it was screw work. I'm going to family dinner or whatever it was, right? So it's just a different, like when we talked about that before you started, I'm like, man, it really is a different energy this time. Like, yes, I show up every day, but it doesn't look like that hustle culture anymore, which, to be honest, is not healthy. And look, there's so much online about, you know, of course you have to put in work, right? But like when you interpret that, sometimes it's like, well, I have to kill myself working so that I can get this success because so-and-so got this success in such a short amount of time. Like bullshit. Like, can we normalize like things taking a little while longer to get to where we want to be and not dying in the process?
And it being worth it because the result comes.
Yeah.
And so this, I think as a result of even our exchanges, I had some ahas around how strongly I've lived in the masculine energy, the doing, the pushing, the like just constant movement, fire energy.
Yeah.
Into now relaxing into a bit softer. And there's anxiety and there's shifts and, you know, there's new recalibration around that. but it's making things grow in like an easier way. So these are cliches that I've heard mentors, coaches say, and now I'm living them. And I'm like, oh, geez, that's actually real. I get so tired of hearing some of the same inspiring stuff out there, but now I'm living it. And you know, I really want you guys to hear like that the persistence pays off, and it's not cliche and cheesy. It's just kind of the matter of fact results of consistency. And I don't mean daily by minute, because like you, Melodie, I was living in a very military type of schedule, and you know, time blocking was super attractive to me when I first started as like a systems Capricorn crazy person. But now we grow, and we know better, and we approach things better. And, you know, we're in business to make money. We're in business to serve. We're in business to fulfill our soul, but we're not only in business. And I've said this before, and it's forming into a whole program, I think, around, you know, soul fitness through the business playground. So remember that in living your life, and your business doesn't, in order to be successful, it doesn't have to be everything that you're doing all the time. And you can have room for both. And so now you're back at work full time. You've got like an established business, and you're moving those two pieces in flow with each other. So tell us about what that shift, how different that energy is, and, you know, touch on some of the hard skills around how you're managing that so that it can exist this way.
You know what? It's fucking hard. And I have to apologize to any clients, you know, in the first couple of years of coaching, or, you know, whatever I was doing at the time, because again, I've had a couple different things going on, but if I ever push that masculine energy, like, come on, you can do it. I mean, yes, you can go and do it. You can push and do it. That's cool. And you can also just let the chips, you know, lie where they do, and work with what you got, and kind of, you know, incorporate a bit more of a feminine energy, right? But yeah, it's hard. I don't have kids. I have a step kid, but I don't have kids full time. Like, I have a dog, and between me and him, like, just taking care of the two of us, and a business, you know, and 9 to 5, that's enough. That's more than enough. So yeah, completely different energy. I'm a lot kinder to myself. I let go of a lot of things that don't matter anymore. You know, when I was working full time, I was running really successful Facebook group, which was sweet. Tons of women in there, and super engaged. Like people are like, I've never seen a group so engaged. And you know what? I let that go, because I was like, I can't. I just can't. I got to show up in one place, and you know, Facebook isn't really my platform anymore. So I'm going to prioritize. So I think right now I've got a lot more of a masculine and feminine balance, even though innately I am much more of a masculine energy type person. Like, let's get shit done. Let's do this. But at the same time, I'm realizing, okay, well, I don't have to do that.
That's right.
Or, hey, I'm going to hand that off this time. Or, you know what? My Facebook personal profile doesn't have to be perfectly curated if I'm on Instagram, right? Like, so yeah, just learning to prioritize, learning what offers I really want to focus on. And that's tough for me because I'm a manifesting generator. Are you familiar with human design?
Yeah, like a smidge, and I think I'm just straight generator.
I was just gonna say, I think you're a generator. Just from knowing you, like, just briefly. But yeah, manifesting generator energy is like, I want to do all the things, and I want to offer all the things, and I want to my hand in every kind of like cookie jar that I can, because that fills me up and lights me up. And realizing now, with a 9 to 5 and, you know, a boyfriend and family and blah 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 blah, I can't do that. Right? So,
well, or if you did, it would come at an expense of your own well-being, right? And you've lived that life now, so you've learned the lesson. And it took the time it took. And here's an example for you guys listening. way back, a girlfriend and I were in shitty relationships, and I had just left mine. I'd come to that point, and she's like, well, Mia, when am I going to know when it's my time? And I'm like, honey, you're going to know when you know. That's it. That's all there is to it. Nobody can pinpoint that. You have to come to that point. So we go through on repeat until the lesson comes to us, until we come to the lesson in a new realization. And what's important about what we're talking about right now is that it's not feminine over masculine or masculine over feminine. It's balance and ebb and flow of the two, and knowing when to turn some on, and like when to turn which one on and let it lead and then come back. And that can happen hour by hour, week by week. Like there's no, so it's the practice of utilizing them with, I guess I would say, like the highest return on investment in mind for what's in front of you at that time. And this is where you've really moved forward into that space. So like if you're launching a new product, that's fucking hard masculine energy, go for it, dial it in, and then kick back with a couple of days at the spa or whatever suits your fancy, crafting, whatever it be. And so I really appreciate you saying it's hard, but it's hard in a new way where you're probably more practicing that skill on and off between the two, and learning, you know, what's going to move the marker the most versus trying to do all the things.
Which is hard for me too, because I just want to get it all done.
Yeah.
Like I'm the kind of person that sits down Monday morning and goes, okay, I got to get everything I want to get done this week done today.
Yeah.
And no one's
and next week
and next week. And because that just like fills me up, like, oh, I'm so accomplished. And like, even I have to remind myself, like, okay, you have Tuesday to Friday. Right. So it's tough. It is tough. And yeah, you're right. There is a time, you know, when I'm feeling like, okay, I got an hour to kill, like, and I feel pumped up. Let's go. Let's write some content. Let's launch something. Let's do something new. Right. And then other times I'm like, I'm going to lay on the couch like a potato and think about business and let those ideas come to me. And I know by doing that now, because I have learned over the years that I do need those days to just go for a drive and let the things sit. And that's how I find that feminine energy actually balances out the masculine, because I come up with more ideas and more whatever, because I've just let myself like simmer. Yeah.
So as you're saying this, I'm going to really make it practical, and I'm going to compare the Instapot to the crock pot, because I'm crazy like that.
I love it. I got a crock pot on right now, actually. I don't have an Instapot though, but I do know the purpose of them.
My friend left hers here while she went traveling, and I've got a family of 4 when we're all together. And it was a game changer coming home from work and just throwing some stuff in there and it being ready in 20 minutes, plus one dish, my favorite kind of meal. Instapot, masculine energy. Boom, done. Ready, go, move on. Crock pot. Nice, slow, put stuff in, turn it on, forget about it. Come home, the whole house smells, and you don't have to do any meal prep. You can play with your kid in the backyard, turn it off, it's ready. And it still creates that space and time in the evening for like, more freedom, because you don't have to sit at the stove and cook something. So, you know, different tools for different times. And the crock pot has more space generally, so you get more out of it. So when you're having that lounge time,
that's good.
Very clever.
I might even add to that a little bit and say, in order to have that crock pot moment, you kind of need to plan in advance and make sure you've got your ingredients, you've got them all cut up. Like, I mean, we spent half an hour last night cutting up vegetables. And then, you know, browning the meat, whatever. There is that element of, I need that masculine to then achieve the feminine.
Yes.
and vice versa, right? I need the feminine, I need the settle, I need the flow, I need the whatever, the relax. Not that feminine is always relaxed, but I need that to then feel inspiration to get the masculine back and get that done, if that makes sense.
It ties it together. It comes back to what we're saying around it's both of them. So if you're employed full time and you're working on your business, take a breath and work on them in tandem and find ways to maximize, like you spoke to, Melody, about, little coffee breaks here and there, lunch breaks. One tip that I would share is that I run everything on Google Drive, so I can pull up my current offer Google Doc and throw some shit in there. I started a blog. I'm on Wix as my website host. I love it. If you want to know features about it, message me. But I can work on my blog in draft form from my phone. So now I've got this great portability to my business that I can bring that masculine energy in, and that I can calm through my feminine energy, my incessant overwhelm anxiety of how much there is to do. Because, like my days, it's the morning time is my sacred time. And then after my little daughter is in bed, which sometimes is like 9:30 or 10 o'clock, even though she's not quite 5. So that leaves little other time. So I've woven these things in together. And, maybe you have some tips of how you're managing that double role in your current setup.
Yeah, I go with the flow. If my work is slow, in the beginning, I used to feel guilty for spending half an hour and working on my business. Like when I first started and I was still learning all the ropes, I would work on my own business at lunch. But then I moved into the remote role and I'm like, oh shit, I got all this flexibility now. So I will take a client call at 10 a.m. and just work an hour later, for work. But if it's slow, I take advantage of that. And I used to feel really guilty because that's that teacher, 9 to 5 corporate mindset. I have to be here from 8 to 4. I always say 9 to 5. It's never 9 to 5. Who works
not in Canada?
7 to 3, 8 to 4, whatever. And I owe that company that time. Well, you know what? I'm the kind of person that works really well for 2 straight hours. And then my brain, the creativeness is, I need that time to whatever, right? So I can't sit in front of a computer and write content and Facebook ads and email marketing and all that stuff for hours on end. I need that break. So for me, I'm lucky enough to have that ability to just pull up again, on my OneDrive, my offers, and write something down as it comes, or take that client call and then make up the time later or whatever. I'm super, super lucky that way. But when shit hits the fan and work is busy and I'm in the middle of a launch, it's honestly just time blocking. I set a timer and progress over perfection. You got to get it out. You have to show up today. This has to be done. So we should get her done. A couple weeks ago, I actually sent an email to my list for the first time in a few months. And I was like, hey guys, to be really honest with you, I have not been here for this, weekly newsletter. And I started calling it my not so weekly newsletter.
Great.
That's its title. And my sign off is until next week ish. And you know what? The pressure is gone. I got so many responses back saying this was the content that we needed. Thank you for this. And it's just, you know what? Now I show up when I can. And it's just different. So I don't know where I was going with that. I totally lost my train of thought, as I told you I would.
As you warned me, but that's okay because we can keep it going and I can bring it back. This is the ways that you are making it work for you with what you now know, and how you're leveraging your lessons and empowering yourself, leveling up. This is what personal growth is. This is the tangible part of it, because one thing I was struggling, I don't know if that's but I like to touch things, damn it. I like to be able to see them tangible, hard ass Capricorn here. I want to check that list off, and I want like my life's record of things checked off the list in a beautiful scrapbook in my office so I can go back and see. It's very satisfying for me. In personal development, we'll start seeing different results by how the universe or whatever, our external environment is responding to us. And so you've given an example of that, because the comparison is weight loss. When we're really intentionally working towards weight loss, the numbers on the scale go down, the clothes fit differently, and you can really physically see it. But in personal development, less so. And so it's great to take time to recognize that. And when we're in it, I'm finding as we're growing into like a broader version of ourselves, a higher version of ourselves, you're still kind of looking around at like, whoa, what's happening? What's going on here? This is different. And you're climatizing as you go. And that, hopefully you come with a bit of more awareness around that, so you can observe that and then continue the practice of it.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. And it's not like, learning how to do a sit-up or doing a burpee for the first time, because it's so like mystic, for lack of a better word. But that's what's happening here. And having a job can really help you be a better business person, because you're going to look for the best way to move things forward. And if you can handle those two things, you'll be able to handle running the business very well, like your CEO training in that element.
Yeah.
Wearing a couple of hats.
Yeah, no, that's true. And it's interesting what you said about like, because it's also true when you're going into that personal development and you're really working on it, you don't notice the differences. Like you don't know, but everyone else does, which is just a side note. But yeah, you know what, it's okay. So if I had to like break it down into a couple things, planning is key. You can't not plan when you're working and running a business. Yeah. You have to plan. If you don't plan, nothing is happening. Number 2 is the time blocking. Okay, I'm setting and like do this in your planning, right? Okay, so from 6 to 8 in the morning, I do my morning stuff. I have my shower, eat my breakfast, do my morning walk, whatever. From 8 to 9, sometimes this is what I have to do. I get my business stuff done first, because the work is always there for both my 9 to 5 and my business, right? Yeah. But at the end of the day, if I focus solely on, and I have the flexibility to do this, not everyone does, but if I focus on the work, I'm so tired and I don't have the energy to do my own stuff. Yes. And you need that creative, like, especially when you're a solopreneur, you need all the juice you can possibly get so that you can put it back into your own business. For me, that's first thing in the morning. For some people, that's like late at night. I don't know how are you late at night? Are you morning? Like I'm used with that lunch. There's nothing going on there at lunchtime. So, it's
an important point of being organized, so that you stay on task, and also that when you so-called log in to your business, you know just what to do and hop to it. Yeah. Right. So it's not like 17 different tabs open and which one do I do? And I'm going to try and do all of them all at once, which was me for the longest time, hands down, for sure. And over a couple of years, guys, I've had to lead myself through the habit and the discipline of reducing that and working on one thing for the time that I had for it. So for me, I'm totally a night person. I could stay up all night and work on things. And I was doing that before I had my daughter. I still had a family and a stepdaughter, and I'd be in the office all the time. And I love it. I love being at the computer, creating, producing, serving. But then there wasn't time for other things. And now I'm like forced into a different schedule, and I need to get up to have coffee at least before I wake my daughter. But what you're saying is that creative calling, that soul voice, needs to be scratched. And so what I've been doing for the last couple of weeks is waking up at 5:30. And that gives me time to snooze the alarm a couple of times and get up and still have plenty of time to be in powerful ink before the day goes. Because absolutely, by the time I've closed the bedroom door to my daughter's room, I'm like, oh, fuck me, I got to sit down and hammer out 3 hours. Plus, it's bugging me all day long.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like a bird under the saddle pad. And that is not a happy feeling. And that is not like an aligned energy. Because then I'm like, I'll get to it. I'll get to it. I'll get to it. I'll get to it tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So
true.
And I'm fine. Like yesterday, I was up at 4 a.m. because blood was pumping and I was awake extra early. And by the end of the day, I still felt great because I was like living in my zone.
Yeah. Different energy.
Different energy.
Yeah.
So that's the practice of it. And that's not every day by any means, guys. And I'm not drinking crazy amounts of coffee all day or anything like that. So, what we've both described just now is fine tuning how we do what we do.
Yeah.
And so for you in your journey, dating back now to 2018, 5 years ago, it's changed and it's changed and it's changed from working and building a business, only having a business, going back to work and still building the business. So what we're doing now is a step in the journey of what we're going to be doing next week, next month, next year. And until you continue to fine tune and mix it up a little, you won't know where the click is. I would only get up for horse shows. I was a horse show girl when I was a kid. Horse shows, you could get me up. The morning barn, oh, so great. Fresh morning air, still love that. Or boot camp. I would wake up at like 5:30, roll out of bed, go do a boot camp, and then go do the day. Now I'm finding this ebb and flow in the mornings of how it charges me up. I don't know what next month will bring or the next moon cycle or the, yada yada aging process, etc. But it's working for me now.
Yeah. You said the aging process, and I'm like, oh fuck. Yep. Because I don't sleep anymore, apparently. Years ago is when everything changed for me, and I don't sleep anymore. So now you add that on top. Like I never had problems with that before. And now I'm tired. Hormones are different. Like add that to the mix.
Well, yes, because that's what's happening. Hearing you say that, I'm like, oh, of course. I thought it was just me. Wake up every couple of hours.
And I'm even 40. Like, come on. Yeah, no, it's, you know what? Sometimes I get angry because I'm like, I got a lot going on. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I just want to quit. And then I get angry at myself for wanting to quit. But then I get angry at myself because, like, how can one person do everything that I'm trying to do? Right? Like, some days I literally have to say, Melodie, you're working full time. You are trying to run a full-time business, not full-time. You're doing it all yourself. You have a family. You've got, you've been dealing with like deaths all year long. Like we had 2 really close deaths this past year. Like, give yourself a fucking break. Right? Like, go read a book. Yes. Go watch Netflix. Go for a walk. Like, you don't have to be on all the time. And that is different this year, this time around. Just giving myself that space. And you know what? I feel like a part of me had to go through that to understand what clients also go through. Because before it was super masculine energy. Nope, you can do this. I can do this. You can do this. Right. And now, like, seeing that that's not the case for everybody. And
so has your client audience changed or how you're serving them?
Just how I'm serving them.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like I wasn't compassionate, right? Like, that's kind of, I say, like, what's your one big, like, your it thing? Like, mine is the kindness and compassion. And people have told me, like, well, that's why I work with you, because you were so understanding when I said I couldn't pay right away. And you were so understanding when I had to, can't, like, whatever it was. I've always been compassionate for my clients who have had life things going on. but it was a gentle push, like, hey, you could still do this. You could
Mhm.
make that time, or you could cut this out, or you could whatever. Right. Which I do feel like some clients they still need that push. But it's unhealthy when a coach is pushing you so much,
Mhm.
or you feel that push, right? And you're not able to actually physically do it. That's when it's harmful. I don't think I ever pushed anyone to that point.
Yeah.
I'm just a little bit more like, okay, you don't want to show up, don't show up.
You push
I'm a little bit more
yourself,
understanding now, right? I'm
right?
like,
Here's,
okay,
yeah, because you've
let's
lived.
switch it up. Like, let's do something
Yeah.
different then, right? What is it?
Yeah.
Okay, don't post today. What are you going to do instead? Oh, you're going to reach out to clients, or you're going to get some testimonials, or you're going to, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Do what lights you up today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I think it's my coaching has evolved as well because of just this last year and a half experience. So,
And the way that you're treating yourself as well. Right.
mhm.
So, in the preamble, I was saying how we have this beautiful light, white light energy, and yes, the kindness and compassion, but you weren't serving that to yourself.
No, I wasn't.
And
And if I
now,
said I was going to be there on a call, I would be there.
yeah,
I would be like, dying of period cramps or major
yeah,
migraine or slept 2.5 hours, but I would be there.
yeah.
And that was not doing any good for me. So, at the end of the day, I can't run a business if I'm dead.
Or if it kills you, what was the point?
Exactly. Exactly.
And how's your audience reaction been?
Good. It's been
Yes, exactly.
yeah.
Right? This is such beautiful, beautiful sharing because it's so cheesy, God. The more authentic we are, the better it
Yeah.
is for everybody. And this has
Yeah.
been like the huge unbuttoning the turkey pants
Yes.
moment where we can all just lean
Yes.
back in our chair and slump a little and be fucking real.
Yeah.
And in that, not still, what? Achieve, experience the things that we're trying to
Yeah.
at different levels of meaning and fruition because it's coming from like a deeper place.
Absolutely.
And that is so powerful. And that is less pressure, more pleasure. That's what that looks like. That's what we're hearing. But maybe not being able to compute. Like I know for me, some of the noise online, it just seems so far away or so unrelatable. Really bringing it down to the ground here so that as startups, as gorgeous, empowered female entrepreneurs trying to do this amongst all the chaos of the rest of our lives, we can apply these things not only in how we approach our business, but in how we operate everywhere in our life. And they all tie together. They're all overlapping and connected and creating this more grounded and like full version of who we are.
Well, and what happens when you start to really be yourself? Number one, you stop trying to be that other coach that you see online or that other entrepreneur who's doing it and doing it all. Like, stop trying to be her. Really tap into your own strengths and those own, like, your traits that make you who you are, and bring those to the table. Like, I did that this past year because I had no choice. My clients started doing that this year. And you have so much more clarity when you do that around who you're serving, where you're showing up, as well as like, it's just, you're right, like it all flows. It's all it's just so much more aligned. And my clients found that this year too.
Yeah.
Like, they had so much more clarity, like, oh wait, I don't have to be that person. I don't have to show up and do those things. Oh, I don't want to do reels and dance. Okay, don't. Great. What do you want to do? Oh, you want to write carousels, or you want to tell stories. That, like, this one client is a projector. Well, she is not here to hustle. She is here to wait for people to come to her and then just give her wisdom, right? And she does that. And she shifted that. She was always emulating a manifesting generator, trying to get shit done, like hustle, hustle, hustle. And she wasn't getting anywhere, and she couldn't figure out why. And then she started to just be like, I'm going to do 3 posts this week, but they're going to be so heartfelt. They're going to be way more aligned. And her audience felt that shift too, right?
Yeah.
And it all falls into place. And she was like, oh, I understand what I'm here to do now. Like, I'm good. Right? Which is the goal. You want to help your clients come to, like, that's my goal now, is, and it has never been, hey, do what I do because this worked for me. No, it's what works for you, your business, your lifestyle, your clients, because let's be honest, they're probably a lot like you, right?
Yeah.
So if you're hustling and your clients are not into that, that's gonna not vibe well, right? Like, yeah, start showing up authentically as you. It doesn't mean you have to post every day. It doesn't mean you have to dance on reels. It doesn't mean you have to now have a TikTok account and a Facebook and stop. Cut the noise. Where do you need to be? What needs to happen? Simplify it. Like, just simplify it. I feel like that's my energy this year. Energy is just simplify it.
It is, internally, externally, and so that it's manageable, because all those things you were talking about, following trends, following each other, draws you away from you. And so it really, more cliches, I guess, but they're really meaningful, and that there's so much available to all of us. And I'm going to be very bold. I'm really going to claim this because I'm in the middle of writing a blog about it anyway, that you're not really selling you. You're showing up to serve those who are looking for what you have to offer.
That's so, yeah. You shouldn't be selling you, because you're not once you go away, you are not with them, right? Like, they have to take that on their own. So yeah, your gift to them is the service that you're, provide. Yeah, I love that. Oh, I want to read that when you're done.
Is what you're providing. And that the people that are looking for you are fucking looking for you. They're not looking for Melodie. They're not looking for me. They're not looking for Sasha or Tracy or Jody or Sarah or Sam. They're coming for you.
Yeah.
And so however you show up as you is going to bring them, as long as you are showing up. Again, yes, actions to be taken to complement what you're trying to monetize. I mean, really. But this scarcity or this trend following, some will work with all of that and others won't. And that again removes all of this pressured type of business approach. And you guys, like, this is me. I'm living through it right now. And I'm like, okay, I'm pretty fucking magical, but like, I'm nothing special, all in the same breath, right? Absolutely. No more special than anybody else. So to really get there, it's the practice of mastery of self over all other things. And that takes practice.
And it's not linear.
No.
It's not perfect. It's not permanent. Some months you're like, shit, I got myself together. And other months you're like, what happened? Every week is like a nervous breakdown. I'm like, but that's life. Like, even the gurus, even, the influencer, not, I want to say influencers, but even the personal development
leaders,
masters, leaders, they don't have it all together. And when you said that to me in that email, when I was like, dude, I'm so sorry, like, life is crumbling around me, like, I can't meet you next week, you were like, well, of course you can't. Like, I don't expect you to have it all together. Like, duh. Like, you were just, and that hit me so hard, because, well, that's been my whole life, trying to get it all together, right? And
Yeah,
this
me too.
year has not been that way at all. And it's like, okay, I'm just gonna kind of give in.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give in now. I'm gonna go with the flow. And it's been the most beautiful thing ever to just go with the flow, because for some reason,
Mhm.
I'm still getting clients.
Mhm.
Things are still happening. Like, and you know, I kind of wish I had done it earlier.
Yeah, hindsight's 2020.
Always.
But might have looked different.
Oh, totally. And it wasn't meant for me then.
That's right.
100%.
So there is this like magical key to the universe of everything you've ever desired. And but it might change shape, you know, like you articulated that beautifully, moment to moment. What is lasting is the continuous awareness and practice, like, you know, different choices of it. And again, not just in business. So ways that you can experiment with this is doing something like a little bit more playful at the grocery store, or a little bit more relaxed at bedtime, or a little bit more gentle at coffee break or in traffic. So all these, anywhere we practice these other things, build all of us, and then can be applied in business, right? So it's not this silo of all of this happening in business. It's the practice of it everywhere. And in fact, what's really been working for me is doing it outside of business. And then it kind of becomes more flowy and organic when I am logging in. So that also removes pressure and allows for even greater experimentation, because business is only part of self-development, and it's a monetizable part, but it's not, how successful your business is isn't necessarily reflective of your true actualization, because we've all heard stories of, you know, now leaders saying, I built $1 million business and I lost it and had to start over from scratch.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Or who they are online is not really who they are
Offline. Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah. Lost some people in my circle because of that.
Yeah.
Right. Which is, you know, you look up to, put them on a pedestal, you look up to them, and then you see the back, not the backside, but you see the
Behind
back
the curtain.
end.
Thank
you. The backside and back end, they both sounded right, but
behind the curtain is a little man.
Yeah, and then you're like, oh shit, no, I don't want to be associated with you. But no, that's so true. It's what you do in your life is what you do. Like what you do for one thing is what you do for everything, and that's how it should be. And so you start with one. Start with either the business or your personal life, and let it infiltrate everything else.
And it will. It will, because you're the container for it all at the end. Yeah. Whew, all right. That was a journey and a half.